My beloved granddaughter, your prayers have been answered. You shall give birth to twins, two strong girls who will bring greatness to your kingdom. They will be born with black finger, a sign of their strength. But know this, one of them, the younger twin, will be stronger than the other. Her power will come from her fingers. If her fingers are ever cut, she will lose all her strength. You must protect her at all costs. Once upon a time, in a village called Isi Kingdom, there lived a power and handsome king named King David and his beautiful wife Queen Esther. They ruled over the land with wisdom and kindness, but despite all their wealth, all their power, and all their glory, they had one thing missing: a child. For many years the king and queen tried everything. They visited the best healers, offered sacrifices to the gods, and even traveled to faraway lands searching for a cure to their barrenness, but nothing worked. Their palace remained silent, with no sound of a child's laughter. The people of Isi Kingdom began to whisper. Some said the gods had cursed the royal couple. Others believed that the queen was not destined to be a mother. Every day Queen Esther cried herself to sleep, wishing and praying for a child to call her own. One fateful day, after another sleepless night filled with tears, Queen Esther decided to take matters into her own hands. She wrapped herself in a simple cloth and left the palace before dawn, heading straight to the great river of life, where it was said that the mighty river goddess Mary listened to the cries of barren women. She knelt by the river bank, her hands trembling as she scooped the cool water into her palms. "O great mother of the waters," she cried, "have mercy on me, bless me with a child, so that my home may be filled with joy." The river suddenly became still, as if time had stopped. Then out of the depths a beautiful woman with long flowing hair and skin that shone like the moon emerged from the water. It was Mary, the river goddess, queen of Isi. Mary spoke in a voice that was both gentle and powerful. "Your prayers have been heard. You shall give birth to twins, two strong girls who will bring greatness to your kingdom." Queen Esther gasped in joy, her hands clutched to her chest. "Thank you, great goddess, thank you." But Mary raised a hand to silence her. "Listen carefully, woman," the goddess continued. "These girls will be special. They will be born with black finger, a sign of their strength. But know this, one of them, the younger twin, will be stronger than the other. His power will come from her finger. If her fingers are ever cut, she will lose all his strength. You must protect her at all costs." The queen nodded quickly, her heart pounding. She promised to do as she was told. With a final wave of her hand, the goddess disappeared back into the water, leaving Queen Mary staring at the rippling waves, her mind filled with both excitement and fear. 9 months later, the palace was filled with joy. Queen Mary had given birth to two beautiful baby girls. The kingdom rejoiced, drums were beaten, and the people danced from morning till night. The firstborn was named Sara. She was strong and wise. The secondborn was named Kara. She had an air of mystery about her, and even as a baby there was something different about her. Unlike her sister, she cries were loud and powerful, shaking the very walls of the palace. Her tiny fists were always clenched, and her eyes burned with an unusual fire. And just as the river goddess had said, both girls were born with thick black finger covering their hands. King David and Queen Esther remembered the warning: Sara's fingers must never be cut. As the twins grew, it became clear that they were no ordinary children. Kara was intelligent and always listened to the elders. She trained with the best warriors, learning the art of combat and leadership. Sara, on the other hand, was different. She was faster, stronger, and more fearless than anyone had ever seen. By the time she was 5 years old, she could lift things that grown women struggled with. When she played, her laughter echoed like thunder, and when she was angry, the earth beneath him seemed to shake. One day, while playing with some palace guards, Sara accidentally pushed a full-grown man with just one finger. The man flew several feet away, landing hard on the ground. The entire kingdom began to speak of Sara's power. "She is a child of the gods," they whispered. "No human should have such strength." Some people feared him, while others admired her. Many years passed, and Kara and Sara grew into strong, handsome young ladies. Their childhood days were behind them, and now they were being prepared to take on the responsibilities of the royal family. Sara had grown into a fearless and mighty warrior, loved by the people for his incredible strength. She could wrestle the strongest men in the kingdom and defeat them effortlessly. His arrows never missed their target, and her presence on the battlefield was like that of a roaring thunderstorm. Kara, on the other hand, was cunning and ambitious. She had always believed that as the firstborn, she was the rightful heir to the throne, but she lacked the bravery and strength of her younger sister. Though she trained with the warriors, her heart was filled with fear. One bright morning, King David decided to take his daughters to the great forest of Isaiah, land that stretched far and wide, filled with tall trees, wild rivers, and dangerous beasts. You must learn to understand the land you will rule one day, the king said. A true ruler does not just sit on the throne, she knows her kingdom inside and out. Excited, Sara and Kara rode their horses beside their father deep into the forest. The air was thick with the scent of fresh leaves, and birds sang melodious tunes. But unknown to them, danger lurked in the shadows. As they reached the heart of the forest, a loud, terrifying roar echoed through the trees. The horses neighed in fear, their eyes wide with terror. Before they could react, a massive lion as big as a buffalo leaped out of the bushes, its sharp teeth glistening in the sunlight. A lion, the king shouted, reaching for his sword, but before the king could do, Kara let out a scream and took off running, her feet kicking up dust as she disappeared into the forest. She ran faster than the wind, leaving his father and sister behind, but Sara stood her ground. Her heart pounded, but he did not move, her hands clenched into fists, and she took a deep breath, staring directly into the lion's fierce eyes. Come and fight me, Sara bellowed, pounding her chest. The lion roared and charged at her. Sara did not run. Instead, she picked up a thick tree branch lying on the ground and swung it with all his might. Crack, the branch hit the lion's head, but the beast only staggered back for a moment before roaring again. It pounced, its sharp claws aiming straight for Sara's chest, but Sara was faster. She rolled to the side and grabbed the lion by the mane. Using her incredible strength, she lifted the mighty beast off the ground. King David watched in shock as Sara twisted the lion's neck with all her power. With a final snap, the lion and fell to the ground dead. The forest was silent. Sara wiped the sweat from her forehead and looked at her father. Are you hurt, father? she asked, breathing heavily. King David shook his head in amazement. No, my daughter, he said, placing a proud hand on Sara's shoulder. You have done what no ordinary woman could do. You are truly a gift from the gods. Sara smiled humbly, but deep inside, she knew this was just the beginning of her destiny. Meanwhile, Kara had reached the palace. Her heart was still pounding from the run, and her clothes were covered in dust. She burst into the throne room where Queen Mary sat discussing matters with the palace elders. Mother, Kara cried, fake tears rolling down her cheeks. Queen Mary's eyes widened in fear. What is it, my daughter? she asked, rushing to hold her. Kara fell to the floor, pretending to sob. It is father and Sara, they are dead. They've attacked us in the forest. I tried to help, but they were too far gone. The queen let out a piercing scream, clutching her chest. No, my husband, my daughter, she cried, tears pouring down her face. Kara knelt beside her, pretending to console her. Mother, do not cry now that father is gone. I will be king. I will take care of you, she whispered. Just then the palace gates burst open. King David and Sara walked in, completely unharmed. Gasps filled the room. Queen Oda turned and saw them standing there, the king looking confused. The queen froze, her eyes darting between her husband and Kara. What is going on here? she asked, her voice trembling. King David frowned. Kara, my daughter, what lies have you been telling your mother? he demanded. Kara's face went pale, but she quickly forced a smile. Father, you are alive. I was just scared. I thought you were dead, he stammered. But the queen was no fool. She turned to her husband. Tell me what really happened, she said. The king narrated everything, how Kara ran away in fear, leaving them behind, and how Sara killed the lion with her bare hands. Queen Mary's face darkened with anger. So Kara, you ran away and left your father and sister to die, then came here and claimed you will be king soon, she asked coldly. Kara gulped. She tried to speak, but the anger in his mother's eyes silenced her. King David stepped forward, shaking his head in disappointment. You have brought shame upon this family. Kara, a leader must be brave, not a coward who lies to take power. He said. Kara dropped to her knees pretending to be remorseful. "Forgive me, father, I was just afraid it will never happen again," she pleaded. King David sighed. "You are my daughter, and I will forgive you, but I have seen the truth today." He said. The people of the kingdom celebrated Sara as the strongest warrior to ever live. They cheered her name in the streets, calling her Sara the Lion Slayer to honor her courage. King David declared that after him Sara would be the next ruler of Isi kingdom. She also named him second in command, giving her power over the army and the kingdom's affairs. That night, as the kingdom rejoiced, Kara sat in her chambers boiling with rage. "How dare they praise Sara and not me?" she muttered, clenching her fists. Her hatred for Sara grew even stronger. But now it was not just Sara she despised, she also hated her own father. "If father is dead, I will be king. I must find a way to take the throne, even if it means destroying them both." With darkness in his heart, Kara began to plot. Then an idea came to her. The dark arts she had heard whispers in the marketplace about a powerful native doctor, Baba Uche, a man who lived deep in the forbidden forest. It was said that his magic was feared by all, but he did not meddle in royal affairs. "He will help me," Kara murmured. "For the right price, he will give me the power to destroy Sara and take the throne without wasting time." She grabbed her cloak, covered her face, and slipped out of the palace under the cover of darkness. Kara rode her horse through the thick forest, the trees towering over her like silent giants. The deeper she went, the colder the air became. The path was dark and full of whispers, the sound of unseen creatures moving in the bushes around her. "I must be strong," she reminded herself, gripping the reins of her horse. After what felt like hours of riding, she finally saw a small crooked hut surrounded by bones and charms. Kara dismounted, her heart pounding. She walked forward and raised her hand to knock. Before her fingers could touch the door, it swung open on its own. A deep, chilling voice echoed from inside. "I know why you are here." Kara stepped inside cautiously. Behind the table sat Baba Uche, an old terrifying man with dark red eyes. His skin was wrinkled like ancient tree bark, and his long bony fingers drummed against the wooden table. Kara swallowed hard but kept his voice steady. "I need your help, Great One," she said. "I want my sister Sara dead. She has stolen my birthright. I must be king." The room fell silent. Baba Uche did not move. He only stared at Kara, his glowing red eyes piercing into his soul. Then suddenly he let out a loud, thunderous laugh. Kara, awash, shocked, she did not understand what was funny. The laughter stopped, and Baba Uche leaned forward, his face now inches from Kara's. "Foolish princess," she hissed, "you dare ask me to meddle in royal blood?" Petic breath caught in his throat. "But I am offering you gold power, anything you want." Baba Uche eyes flashed with rage. "There are things more powerful than gold," he roared, slamming his staff on the ground. Kara staggered back, suddenly feeling like a small girl before a raging storm. "You are a greedy, foolish princess," Baba Uche continued. "You seek to kill your own sister and father. The gods will never allow it. Their blood is protected by a force greater than you can ever imagine." Kara, fists clenched. "I will do whatever it takes," she shouted. "Tell me what I must do." But Baba Uche slammed his staff on the ground again. "Get out," she thundered. "Go back to your kingdom and never return to my shrine." Baba Uche commanded. Kara stumbled backward, his heart racing. "But leave." Before Kara could argue, the ground beneath her shook violently. The door swung open on its own, and an invisible force pushed her outside. Kara sat on the ground, breathing heavily. She had been rejected. The native doctor had refused to help her. Her hatred for Sara and King David burned even hotter, so even the native doctors fear her. She muttered, "Then I will have to handle this myself." As Kara rode back to the palace under the dark sky, her heart was filled with only one thought: revenge. "If the gods and the sorcerers will not help me, then I will find another way." He vowed he would have to be smart, he would have to be patient. Sara must fall first, then father, then the throne will be mine. But how a wicked smile crept across Kara's face. "I will make her weak, I will strike where it hurts the most." 4 days passed, but Kara's heart was Still filled with anger, she could not eat, she could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Sara standing beside their father, the great King David, while the people cheered her name, Sara the lion slayer, Saraya, the strongest girl in Isi, Sara the future king. Their voices rang in Kara ears like the sound of thunder before a great storm. What about me? Kara growled to herself. Am I not the firstborn? Am I not supposed to be the next king? The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. I must find out where Sara gets her strength, what makes him so powerful. The next morning Kara went to Saraya's room, her mind filled with wicked thoughts. Sara was sitting on a wooden stool sharpening her sword. Kara stepped inside, forcing a smile on her face. My dear sister, she said, you are truly a mighty man. The whole kingdom speaks of your strength. Sara looked up and smiled, not suspecting anything. Thank you, Kara, she said, setting down her sword. Kara took a step closer. But tell me, sister, she said in a low voice, where do you get your strength? How are you able to fight like 10 men? How did you kill that lion without even using a spear? Poor Sara let out a small laugh, shaking her head. The gods of our land are with me, she said. They give me strength to protect our kingdom and our people. Kara's face darkened, her fingers curled into tight fists. So I am the one the gods do not favor, she spat, her voice rising with anger. Kara frowned, confused. Sister, that is not what I meant. But Kara stepped back and hissed, her eyes burning with hatred. Enough, she snapped. You and your useless father, you both think you are better than me, but I will show you. I will deal with both of you. Sara's eyes narrowed. Kara, what are you saying? Kara did not reply. She turned sharply and stormed out of the room, her heart pounding like a war drum after the tense encounter in her room. Sara could not shake off the strange feeling in her heart. Her sister's words troubled her deeply, the anger in Kara's voice, the hatred in her eyes. It was not normal. Unable to keep the thoughts to himself, Sara decided to speak to her father. He walked straight to King David's royal chamber, where the king sat on his throne reading ancient scrolls. As soon as Sara entered, the king looked up. My daughter, what troubles you? He asked, setting aside the scrolls. Sara bowed her head slightly before stepping forward. Father, I am worried about Kara today. She came to me asking where my strength comes from. When I told him that the gods of our land are with me, she became angry. She said she would deal with me and with you. The king's brows furrowed in concern. Kara said this. He asked Sara. King David let out a deep sigh and leaned forward. Sara, there is something you must know, he said in a low voice. Sara listened carefully as his father continued. Your strength does not come from ordinary power. Your finger is the source of your strength. As long as your fingers remain untouched, you will be stronger than any woman in this kingdom. Your fingers must never be cut. If it is, you will lose all your strength. Sara's eyes widened in shock. My fingers, she repeated, touching the thick fingers on his hand. But Father, Kara has the same hair as mine. Why is mine different? King David placed a strong hand on his daughter's shoulder. Because, my daughter, you were chosen by the gods. You were ordained before you were born to be the protector of this kingdom. You are special, Sara. That is why no man can defeat you. Sara felt a mix of emotions, pride, confusion, and fear. So if my finger is cut, I will become weak, she asked. The king nodded. Yes, my daughter, that is why you must be careful. Never let anyone touch your finger. But neither of them knew that Kara was standing outside the chamber, listening to every word. When she heard that Sara's strength was in her fingers, her heart leapt with joy. So that is the secret, she whispered to herself, her lips curled into a wicked smile as a plan began to form in her mind. If I can cut Sara's fingers, she will become weak, she thought, her eyes gleaming with evil excitement. And once she is weak, I will destroy her. Then I will deal with father. The throne will be mine. Kara could barely contain her excitement and wicked joy. She turned quickly and rushed back to her room, her heart pounding with anticipation. As soon as she stepped inside, she locked the door and began pacing back and forth, thinking deeply. How do I do it? Sara is always on guard. Father has warned her she will not allow anyone near her fingers. She stopped and rubbed her chin deep in thought. I cannot fight her, I cannot force her, but maybe there is another way, a way to make Her "Trust me." Then an idea struck her like lightning. A dark evil grin spread across her face. "Yes," she murmured, her eyes glowing with wickedness. "I will not rush, I will be patient, I will pretend to love him, I will make her trust me again. And when the time is right, I will strike." Kara laughed softly, a laugh full of evil and deceit. "Your days of being the strongest are over, Sara. I will cut off that your smelling hair, and you will be nothing. Then I will be the ruler of Isi Kingdom." The next morning Kara could no longer hold in her anger her father's words to Sara. The night before kept ringing in her head. "You were chosen by the gods. Your hair is your strength. You are special, Sara." Each word felt like a spear to Kara's chest. "And what about me?" she muttered to herself as she paced around her room, her fists clenched tightly. "Am I not also a daughter of King David? Am I not the firstborn? Why does she treat me like I am nothing?" Her hatred boiled inside her like hot water in a clay pot. "I will not keep quiet anymore today. I will ask her directly without thinking twice." Kara stormed out of his chambers and marched straight to the royal hall, where King David sat on his golden throne. King David was busy discussing important matters with his council. When Kara barged into the throne room without warning, the elders turned in shock, their eyes widening at Kara's disrespectful entrance. But Kara did not care. "Father, we need to talk," she said, her voice filled with anger and frustration. King David looked up, his eyes calmed but firm. "Kara, my daughter, what is the meaning of this?" he asked. Kara walked forward, her hands shaking with rage. "Why do you hate me so much, father?" she asked. "Why do you love Sara more than me? Why do you treat me like I am nothing? I am your first daughter, yet you made Sara second in command instead of me. Am I not supposed to be the next king?" The room fell silent. The council members looked at each other, sensing the tension in the air. King David took a deep breath and stood up from his throne. "Kara, my daughter," he said in a calm but firm voice, "you do not understand what it takes to be a king." Kara's eyes burned with fury. "What do you mean? I am your firstborn. That alone is enough." King David shook his head. "No, Kara, being the firstborn does not make you a leader. A king must be strong, wise, and selfless. A king must be ready to defend her people. A king must rule with justice and wisdom. And you, my daughter, you lack all these things." Kara staggered back, her heart pounding with shock and rage. "What are you saying, father?" she asked. King David stepped closer to his daughter, his eyes filled with both disappointment and sadness. "Kara, let me tell you why I did not make you my second in command," he said. "1. You are reckless. You act without thinking. You do not consider the consequences of your actions." Kara's but the king continued. 2. You are careless. You do not take responsibility for your duties. You do not think about the future of this kingdom. 3. You waste money. You spend gold on useless things. You throw feasts when there is nothing to celebrate. You do not know how to manage the wealth of this kingdom. Kara's jaw tightened, her lips pressing together in fury. "For you love men too much instead of preparing yourself for the throne you chase after pleasure. A true king must have discipline, but you have none." Kara's face turned red with shame and rage. But the king's next words cut him the deepest. 5. You do not have the strength to defend this land. You are always fearful. You ran away when the lion attacked us in the forest, leaving me and your brother behind. How can a coward rule a kingdom? Kara's entire body stiffened, her heart pounded in her chest like a ward drum. The king looked her straight in the eye. "My daughter, these are the reasons why I do not need you as my successor." The words felt like a slap across Kara's face. Her pride shattered, her ego burned like fire, her hands trembled with fury. Kara took a step back, her eyes filled with pure rage. "So that is it," she spat, his voice shaking. "You have already chosen Sara over me. You have already decided that I am useless." King David sighed. "Kara, you can change. If you learn from your mistakes, you can become a better woman. But right now you are not ready to be king." Kara felt something snap inside her. "Then I don't need you either, father," she whispered, her voice dripping with venom. "You are not my father anymore. I will take the throne whether you want it or not." And with that she spun on her heels and stormed out of the throne room, her face twisted with anger and vengeance. The elders whispered amongst themselves, shocked by Saraya's words. King David watched her daughter leave a deep sorrow filling his heart. May the gods protect her from herself, she muttered. Peter rushed back to her room, her mind spinning with dark thoughts. Her father had humiliated her in front of the elders. Her father had chosen Sarah over her. Her father had called her a coward. I will show him, Kara screamed. I will show them all. I will take the throne by force. Kara couldn't let go of her anger. She had tried everything, yet Saraya still stood strong, and their father had humiliated her. If she couldn't defeat Sarah with her own hands, then she would find another way. She traveled to a neighboring village and found Zina, a young woman known for her beauty and charm. I have a job for you, Kara said. Zina raised an eyebrow. And what do I get in return? Kara tossed a small bag of gold at her feet. That's just the beginning, there's more if you do as I say. She picked up the bag, weighing it in her hand. What do you need, Kara? I want you to get close to her, make her trust you. And when the time is right, cut off her fingers. Zina eyes widened. Her fingers? Yes, Kara hissed. That's where her strength comes from. If you can't cut it, poison her. Make sure she doesn't live. Zina looked at the gold again, then nodded. Consider it done. Zina arrived in Isi Kingdom and pretended to be a lost traveler. Sarah, always kind-hearted, welcomed her with open arms. As days passed, Zina saw something different in Sarah. She wasn't just strong, she was noble, kind, and full of wisdom. She treated everyone with respect, even the lowest servant. For the first time in her life, Zina felt something real. She couldn't go through with it. One evening, she went to Sarah and knelt before her. I have something to tell you, she said, her voice shaking. Sarah frowned. What is it? Zina took a deep breath. Kara sent me. She paid me to cut your fingers or poison you. If that failed, Sarah was shocked. Kara, she nodded, tears in her eyes. But I can't do it. You don't deserve this. Sarah was silent for a long time. Then she stood and called for the guards. Bring my father, she said. That night the entire royal court gathered. Zina confessed everything. Kara was brought in, her hands tied. King David looked at her, disappointment in his eyes. My own daughter, you tried to kill your sister. Kara frowned. You never wanted me to be king. You always chose Sarah over me. King David shook his head. No, Kara, you chose greed, you chose hatred. The council demanded punishment. Banish her, one shouted. She is a danger to us all. Another added. King David sighed. Kara, for your betrayal, you are no longer a princess. You are banished from Isi Kingdom. You will never return. Kara struggled against the gods. You will regret this one day. I will return and take everything from you. But her words meant nothing. The guards dragged her out, and that was the last time Kara ever set foot in Isi Kingdom. With Kara gone, peace returned to the land. Sarah continued to serve her father, protecting the kingdom with wisdom and strength. Zina, ashamed of her past, left the palace, vowing to live an honest life. And as for King David, he ruled for many more years, knowing that his kingdom was safe in the hands of Sarah, the strongest warrior Isi had ever known. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.